We're talking about home ownership now. We've been talking about mortgages over the past few weeks, but we're going to talk a bit more about building out of pocket first and how that could help you in the process of really owning that dream home. Crystal Howell.
Brave souls,
Yeah.
people who do that.
Crystal
really.
Howell is reportedly one of those brave souls who has
Wow.
been making that attempt and doing a good job at it too. So
I had
you know,
a
we have
friend
it.
who did that, and I just bow to her. I know the sacrifices.
Yeah, so she's living and learning, and then she's bringing the lessons here to
Yeah.
us on Morning Barbados. Crystal, good morning.
Good morning.
She's our internal auditor. So we're talking a bit more this morning about getting that dream home, but going the rough way, building out of pocket.
It is a lot of work, and I'm not going to try to convince anyone otherwise, but I'm hoping that persons can be adequately prepared, learning from the experiences of those who will share what they would have gone through, because it's not something that you can go on the internet and look up and see what happened and how people went about it. It's something you have to hear other people talking about, and unfortunately we don't talk about it enough, or you have to hear from a friend whose experience may not be the same as what you may have to encounter. So having as many stories as possible and people sharing about how they went about it could hopefully help a lot of other Barbadians who are thinking about going down that path, but like you, their perception of it is that it's a lot of work. And
It isn't so much the work part, it's the planning.
it's a lot of planning.
I remember what my friend, what she and her husband did. Before they even started to build, they actually started to each month buy materials.
Yes.
And that's all well and good. But then, of course, when you get into the building, things change. Cement, the price goes up. They run out of the pattern of tiles, so you needed more. I mean, and you're paying for these things out of your savings and not out of a loan. So
As we always say, if I'm buying a house, I got to buy it whole. I can't go through that torture and then
but at
hear
the end
that.
of the day, though, the gratification
And these
understand.
cost savings.
and
So
the fact that you owe no one anything.
Do you really save
there,
money
there are
sometimes?
pros and cons. Oh yes, you save a lot of money, because when you're paying a mortgage, if you're consistently paying and not putting on any extra over the 30-year period, you could end up paying double what the cost of the mortgage is. And that is the price that you pay for the convenience of being able to buy your home up front. And anything you could do to chop that down. And as I keep saying, 30 years is a long time to be in that kind of responsibility.
It's a commitment.
It is a huge commitment. So there are pros and cons. The delayed gratification, either you can decide to make this sacrifice now so that you can maybe enjoy a 20-year mortgage or a 15-year. These are the kind of decisions you make.
So what are those decisions? So what choices and what did you do?
You have, before you start, you have to know what kind of house plan you're going to go about. So take your time, because once you start building, for most people, that's it. There's no, let's undo this foundation because I've changed my mind about how I would like the house to be laid out or anything like that. Take your time, do not rush it. If you can do 3D renderings, anything like that. And don't go cheap either in terms of not consulting the professionals, because they have an eye and a perspective that you as a layman may not. So you might think that you don't want to have this particular wall here because it's unnecessary or whatever the case is, and then you realize that's a load-bearing wall.
Oh my goodness,
And
that's right.
there's so many things that they would have knowledge of.
So you're actually your own contractor then?
We decided to go that route,
Wow.
which is a lot of work.
Please note that I'm looking at you in horror. Because even the regular contractors have problems with their artisans keeping them in line.
Well-
So how do you do that?
Family and having persons that you can trust is
okay.
really, really helpful, because it's not something I would advise anyone to do on their own. We had a father that lived next door that was able to discuss with any of the construction men whatever they would have needed. We fortunately worked close to construction stores so that Many times people will see me as soon as 4:30 because you know the workmen need this and that, and you have to get down to Carter's before they close at 5 o'clock. You're rushing out to try to get those things done. You would hear somebody calling you in the middle of the day saying they ran out of nails, and you're like, didn't you know yesterday that
You were going to run out of nails.
And you have those kind of things to deal with. But it helps if you have persons who know what they're doing, because not all construction workers are built the same. Some are very organized and they know what they're doing. They give you quotations and they're able to stick pretty close to the quotations. And then there are others that they give you a good old time and make you wonder if you should have really gotten yourself into this whole mess.
I want to talk about one of the major problems that I believe, and you could tell me if I'm wrong or right, that you can get going this route, which would be cost overruns. Some people tend to, they come back to you, and I'm talking about the contractors on the site now, come back to you and say, oh, okay, I know you budgeted for this, but we need more money for this same thing that you already budgeted for. How do you manage those situations when you are building out of pocket already?
Know that it's going to happen. The benefit with building,
you plan for that.
You have, if you're not planning for that, you're not ready. The benefit with out of pocket though, because with the mortgage, you don't get all the money up front, so you have drawdowns.
Right.
So if you have a drawdown of say $50,000 because the guy told you it's going to cost $50,000 to get this done, and that's what you got, when that money runs out, you have to get a quantity surveyor that says the amount of work that was done was equivalent to the money that you got in that drawdown. And if that does not happen, you have to make that up. And all that time interest is accumulating on your loan because you're in bridging. And just to remind persons, bridging means you're only paying interest, you're not paying back any of the principal. So until you get the property up to where the quantity surveyor says it's equivalent to the $50,000 that you took, you're paying interest all of that time. Whereas with out of pocket, if the guy says, oh, it's going to be an extra $10,000, I just wait until they save $10,000. And you go again.
That's the other thing, the length of time, because sometimes it can take many, many years before you get to move into your home.
It does. Yeah. Because you don't have the money there to just, whenever next they need it, to be able to pull down and pull down.
But at the end of the day,
it requires a lot of patience and a lot of tolerance, because people keep saying, oh, when you're going to move into the home, meaning one that we have to wait another couple of years before we could save enough for the next stage. You have to be able to deal with that. It's not just the money or the organization or the planning. It's an emotionally taxing endeavor as well.
You tell them you're moving when you're ready to move in. And you move on. Thank you so much, Crystal. Always a pleasure talking to you.